My computer tells me it's 10 o'clock. Hello, hello. Hi, I'm Casey Durango. There goes Cuckoo. I'm Casey Durango of Go Keto with Casey, where I talk about how I lost 97.4 pounds after starting the ketogenic protocol, how you may be able to lose weight, improve your health, and regain control of your life like I did. Hiya. Welcome on this very nippy morning here in my part of the world. Clear, but cold. And I hope everyone is being safe and warm. And if you're fortunate enough, if you're lucky enough to be able to sit in front of a nice fire like I am, then you're lucky enough. Hi, today is all about questions. I just want to hear what you have to say. So I'm just going to jump on in. Quickly stating, for those of you who don't know, the ketogenic protocol as I learned it and as I have practiced it now for over 10 years, keep your carbohydrate intake to 20 grams or fewer a day. Total carbs, not net carbs. Net carbs just means more carbs. If it's not on page 4, link below. Don't eat it, but you don't even need a food list. More about that later. Don't eat if you're not hungry. That's the hardest part. Stop eating when you've had enough. Second hardest part. And then I've added be patient and persevere. So there we are. That said, let's jump on in. And listen, caveat, I don't have all the answers. I have the answers for me. And even sometimes on that, I'm wrong about myself. But let's see. Let's share. Okay, so I'm going to just start. So, I like that handle. Hi, Casey. I've noticed 2 cups leafy greens and 1 cup veg have less than 20 grams daily total. If I'm not eating cheese, sour cream, etc., that contain carbohydrates, is it okay to eat more veg? Thanks. Good question. Now, always do what works for you. Keep in mind that cheese has some carbs, sour cream has some carbs, eggs have some carbs, meat has some carbs. So the idea is limiting the 2 cups of leafy greens a day max and 1 cup of uncooked non-starchy vegetables a day max will get you to about 10 or 12 grams of carbohydrate. All food has carbohydrate, fat, and protein. If you're trying to be below the 20 grams a day, that you're eating the max of the vegetables, you're getting close to that because other foods, even animal products, have some grams of carbohydrate. So, but do what works for you. Also, keep in mind what can go on those vegetables. We might think, oh, it's just a big salad, but we're not paying attention to, oh, there are tomatoes, which are higher in carbs. There are dressings, which we must, if we put dressings on, we have to be cognizant of all of these. But do what works for you. Frankly, my experience and what I hear from a lot of people is that actually their vegetable intake goes down. For me, I eat much less food than I used to require. And because I'm always going to default to eating a fatty source of protein first, because those amino acids in the fatty sources of protein must be consumed through the food we eat. Our bodies can't make them. Our body can make any required amount of glucose through gluconeogenesis without us eating carbohydrate or much carbohydrate. So since I'm going to default to fatty sources of protein and I eat much less, there's just not that much room in my life for vegetables right now. And I'm okay with that. I like vegetables. Last night I did have some mashed cauliflower, which I have to be careful with because I really like it. So that would be, find out what works for you. And if you're still in ketosis and you're eating more vegetables, great. You might find that over time that formula changes. Keep in mind that not unlike what a particular so-called guru on the interwebs says, there is not a minimum amount of vegetables that you need. It's not 7 cups of leafy greens minimum. That's not it. It's not the way that works. Some people want to tell you, you must eat all these vegetables. Ooh, that's too much to eat. Well, I'll sell you some pills to replace the vegetables. Bogus. All right. So here we go. So I hope that helps. Find out what works for you. Becky Dampier writes, good morning. It is cold in Missouri. Golly. Colleen Sproul. Hey, Colleen. Good morning from mid-Michigan. It's 7 degrees. Ush. Okay, so I won't complain about that it was like 17 this morning. Although we do need to take water up to the chickens now because their water supply is frozen. Heather Silva, good morning from Boise, Idaho. Bet it's cold there too. Our weekly video Bible study. Yes, we can hear and see. Thank you, Scott. And Chris J gives 2 thumbs up. Now, it's kind of a, vague thing that I put on the thumbnail, keto questions. I'll be honest with you. The hardest thing I have to do is come up with the topic for every Saturday. Why? Because there's only so much to say about how to follow the protocol the way I learned it and the way I have practiced it. And I realize that I repeat myself a lot. I take comfort in the idea that I hear from a lot of people that thank you for repeating yourself a lot because I really need to hear it. I needed to hear it. I need to remind myself, don't eat if you're not hungry. I'll say that out loud to myself. So very often we eat out of habit. We'll eat out of sadness or anger or whatever, loneliness. But sometimes it's just habit. I always eat about this time every day, whether I'm hungry or not. Good morning from South Alabama, writes Dre. So anyway, I figured I won't try to anticipate what people want to hear about. And if y'all will ask me some questions, or you don't have a question, you can share your experience or a pro tip. Here's a pro tip. The second hardest part, stop eating when you've had enough. How do you know? Well, a pro tip is to eat slowly. Eat slowly. That doesn't mean chew your food 25 times before you swallow. To me, that's just kind of gross. But put your utensils down between mouthfuls. Enjoy the food and wait. Why? Why would that sounds kind of, gimmicky? No, there's a physiological reason. There is a hormone called leptin. It's the satiety hormone. It's the opposite of a ghrelin, which is the hunger hormone. Ghrelin says, I'm hungry. Leptin tells your brain you've had enough, but it doesn't happen immediately. It takes time for the signal to get to the brain. So if it takes, for example, just pulling numbers out of the air, if it takes 12 minutes for the satiety hormone to kick in your brain, but you've eaten your food in 7 minutes and then you've already gone back for seconds, eat slowly. I've told this many times to my patrons. I really enjoy my first plate of fuel of the day. It's almost always, not always, but almost always some combination of eggs. We have backyard chickens, so we have plenty of eggs. Eggs, 1 or 2 types of cheese, maybe a couple of slices of bacon, or maybe some breakfast link sausages. And I'll have them, and I will be eating. And a lot of times, frankly, to tell the truth, I'm working while I'm eating that food. I'm in front of the computer, I'm writing, I'm responding to correspondence or whatever. And it's so delicious. I say, you know what, I might have more after I finish this because it is really good. And I like and no one's going to give me a hard time about it. I can do this if I want. I'm an adult. And about halfway through, I'll say, well, if I want more, I will. But then I finish and I realize, no, I'm not going to make any more. And about 15 minutes after I have finished, I realize that my body is telling me I have the sensation of, I wouldn't eat that again if someone put it in front of me. I don't want more food right now. And that's just because I eat very slowly. So that's a pro tip. Cassandra Bull writes, be patient and persevere really helps me. Good. We all need to be patient for a lot of things and persevere. Persevere. If you kind of really know in your heart that it's what you should be doing, remind yourself of that and be patient. It's really great, the stories that are on the front of magazines or some influencers do, and they show their six-pack abs and all that. That's not me. I didn't drop 100 pounds in 10 months. I don't have six-pack abs. Well, I might. It's just covered in a nice insulating layer of flab. But I persevered this time. I knew low carb worked for me since 1977. I was just like everybody else. I tried it over the years. I would start on Monday, do great until Friday night when we went for Mexican food. I'll start again on Monday. I mean, it was not exactly that, but you know this. You know the routine. So, but this time I didn't want to take insulin for type 2 diabetes. I gave up on the cosmetic piece of it. I gave up on losing weight. I decided that the universe wanted me to be the fat, funny friend. I didn't want to take insulin for type 2 diabetes. So that was a different motivator for me. I Googled how to not take insulin for type 2 diabetes, came across the white coat video of Dr. Eric Westman of Duke University, whom I was never his patient, but I'm happy to say we are now friends and we have collaborated on a couple of presentations and things. And the message was, and it was the white coat video, if you don't know, one of his grad students put a recorder in one of his Monday clinic meetings with patients for the Duke intro web, and then it made it out into the wild. And it was just him talking to his patients saying, okay, what we're going to do. And he's wearing his white coat, and it's the no starch, no sugar thing written on a whiteboard behind him, I think. Keep your carbs, 20 grams or fewer total, not net. If it's not on page 4, which was page 4 of a 5-page handout stapled together, that's why it's called page 4. He says, eat if you're hungry. I say, don't eat if you're not hungry. What was I going to say? What was the point of me going on this rant? Oh, persevere. So I felt better almost immediately. My joints didn't hurt. You might have heard my story before. If not, any other video will have it. And so I just persevered. It was not a straight line down of weight loss. And I lost 47 pounds the first year. And it was 2 more years before I lost the subsequent 50 pounds. So not super fast weight loss. I didn't care. Whew, I felt so much better. I persevered because I felt better. So thank you. Chris J, remember, thumbs up, like button. Thank you very much. That does help my channel. You don't have to buy one thing to be 100% successful at this at all, but I will happily sell you some things like my green book, which actually it's at Amazon, but you can see it at my blog, and that'll take you to Amazon. And it has some things, quotes I thought were good. I put this together. I enjoy doing it. This one is a quote, when you reach the end of your rope, tie a knot in it and hang on. That's Franklin Delano Roosevelt, who marshaled us through some very trying times. And then another one from Confucius. Life is really simple, but we insist on making it complicated. Is that not true about the ketogenic protocol? I'm going to go through, and then if I can remember, I will tell you a question that came to me this week from someone who reached out to me. Oh, private support group on patreon.com. Let me get these in the commercial part over. Oh, and mugs and t-shirts, link below. I'm stronger than a cookie. Food's not the boss of me, or just a thing. This is Go Keto with Casey. And private support group at patreon.com, where there's a free trial at the middle level for 7 days. But at $5 a month, you get 20 video snippets from me every weekday morning. And up from there, a handful of patron-only live streams on Crowdcast. And up from there, a monthly one-on-one with me. Thank you very much. Hashtag Casey's Pink Drink. I'm trying to remember all the things I used to get asked about. Today, it's actually tumbler full of ice and diet ginger ale. I'm out of diet tonic water. And a splash of cranberry and a squeeze of lime. Is there anything else that I want to say? But subscribe and hit the like button. It helps my channel and doesn't cost a penny. So thank you very much. What I won't be doing is selling supplements and powders and kits. I won't be doing that. You know, it crosses a line that because I don't believe in that stuff, and you don't need to eat. It's not what you put in your mouth that helps. It's what you don't put in your mouth. It's laying off the carbs. So jumping back in. Elizabeth Todd, I love Greek yogurt and strawberries, total carb 10 grams. Can I fit that into my journey as long as I stay 20 grams total? And it's cold here from Malden, Mass, outside of Boston. I know just where Malden is. My husband and I met when we both worked at restaurants, multiple, in Faneuil Hall Marketplace in Boston. And then 3 months after we started seeing each other, we got married. Then we moved to Chelsea, and then we moved to Lynn, where we bought a house, and know absolutely where Malden is. And it was cold. Oh, so your question, I don't see why not. If if you're doing well, if you continue to burn fat for fuel, remember, being in ketosis doesn't mean losing body fat. It means burning fat for fuel. And if your food that you're consuming is not full of extra fat, so because if let's, for argument's sake, say your body requires 1,000 calories of energy a day, and you're burning fat for that energy, and you eat 1,000 calories worth of oily coffee and butter and fat bombs, there's your 1,000 calories requirement, and it's not going to turn to your body fat. But, Greek yogurt and strawberries is not like MCT oil. So if it works for you, if you're burning fat for fuel, you feel good, if you're getting the health benefits and the cosmetic benefits that you want, absolutely. This is not a one size fits all. This is not a set it and forget it. There are many paths that can lead to the same destination. Some people thrive on plant-based. I thrive on animal-based. Which, isn't it nice? Yin and yang. It all balances out. You got the vegans eating all the vegetables, and I'm eating all the eggs. So find what works for you. I just know what works for me. And I have found some things that don't work for me. And that is loading up on vegetables. Does not serve me well for several reasons. Jay Talbot, Stillwell, Oklahoma. Good morning. Oh, I know you're cold. Look up. Coaching requires repetition. Persistent, consistent effort. This is not a take a pill. And for those of you who are giving yourself injections, if that's what you need to do, but I'll tell you that the sigmaglutines, what they do is they suppress appetite and they bring down blood sugar and A1C. You know what else does that? Laying off the carbs. You do what works for you. I got into this because I didn't want to give myself any shots. Not that I'm afraid of needles. I just couldn't stand the idea that I had made myself so sick that I was going to have to give myself injections of insulin. Keep in mind, I've had cancer 3 times over the course of, I don't remember how many years it was, 15 years. That bothered me a lot. But the idea of having to take insulin really upset me. So persistent, consistent effort. People say, well, I do lazy keto and it doesn't work. I don't even know what that means. I do dirty keto. I don't know what that means. Does someone do slutty keto? I don't know. There's just keto. Just get your body in a state of burning fat for fuel, which is called ketosis, which happens when you reduce your carbohydrate intake sufficiently for your system. Don't eat if you're not hungry. Stop eating when you've had enough. Heather Silva, I love how you keep this way of eating simple. I eat beef and butter, really simple. Food is fuel. Food is not the boss of me. Shopping for food and cooking is simple. It is so much more simple and less time consuming. I can have, and I do most of the evening cooking around here because my husband usually is working out and I'm here. And usually I'm not eating the meals. We've gotten to that point where I'm rarely eating an evening meal with him. But I can get a nice big, not big, a plate of fuel for him in about 7 minutes from start, from cranking on the heat source to serving it. Some less than that. If you go to my blog or some food channel, on my channel, I've got, what are they called? Playlists of food. All of those foods did not take long to make. They're very simple. I agree with you, Heather. Judy Tucker, hello from cold Hopkinton, Iowa. Now, Judy Tucker is a superstar. I might have a channel, but she's a superstar. Over 150 pounds. Starting at age, what, Judy, 65? She's a farmer in Hopkinton. Can you imagine being a farmer, a working farmer, 150 pounds heavier than... She's been fired by her doctor, her obese doctor, and found another one, so everything's good. But Judy is a superstar. Look Up writes, if the nutrition food on the keto lifestyle plan doesn't sound good, I usually am not truly... If the nutritious food on the keto lifestyle plan doesn't sound good, I usually am not truly hungry. This is another thing. It not only, when you're burning fat for fuel and kind of doing this, in my experience, not only suppresses hunger, which is the, oh, I need to eat, it suppresses appetite, which is, I really want to eat. There are some times when I know I'm legit hungry, but I can't think of anything that I want to eat. As Look Up writes, nothing sounds good, so I don't eat. Colleen Sproul, what are your coaching tips for those of us who are the only people in their family following the protocol? Well, this can be a challenge. Now, I'll tell you, when I started, I was the only one doing it. My husband never had a weight issue, and he's from Colombia, South America, and our house was full. I mean, there was rice and beans all the time, and then additional foods and patacones, which I love, and arepas, which I love. And I was making homemade honey wheat bread. I was grinding the wheat berries in my Vitamix and then making the bread every Sunday. And then I stopped eating carbs. I don't think I made an announcement about it. I just did it. My husband could hear the medical presentations I was hearing from Dr. Westman, Dr. Finney, Jeff Volek, Robert Lustig, different people. He heard these and his ears pricked up. So after about 6 months, he said, don't make any more bread. What? Yeah. And don't buy any more rice or beans or tortilla chips. I'm going to do what you're doing. Well, I was shocked. If he had come out of the closet, I couldn't have been more surprised. And I wouldn't have judged him if he had. But he did it he wants to be healthy. And he's a cyclist. There are some athletic benefits to not burning sugar for fuel. Anywho, so what did I do in those times, those 6 months, when I was doing this and he wasn't? I just didn't eat the carbs. So let's not impose challenges from other people where maybe there aren't any. There are situations when some friends, associates, family members, very close family members can actually resent the change and will try to sabotage. Hopefully that's not your case, Colleen. But I will say this, particularly when it comes to children in the household. Children don't need Pop-Tarts. Children don't need Fruit Loops. Children don't need juice boxes. Children don't need chips. They like them. Who doesn't? So let's not now, you have not said that about children, Colleen, but unless you're actually being actively sabotaged, what do you do if you're in a household and other people aren't doing it? Lay off the carbs. You can all have dinner together. You just don't have the potato casserole and the, Pillsbury Doughboy rolls. You have the roast chicken and the green beans. It can be done. Steve 1711 writes, love your advice. Never liked veg as a child, so low carb at least 40 years. Slim, fit, and healthy. Don't listen to people who say that this way of eating is not sustainable. Absolutely correct. And if we tell ourselves, I think it's bordering on malpractice for a medical provider who sees a patient who has lost weight, whose blood sugar has, come down, A1C has come down, they're happier, to say, well, congratulations, but it's really not sustainable. What? That's not your job. Do you tell a smoker who's given up cigarettes and has, their breathing has improved? You say, well, that's great, but It's not sustainable. You'll go back to smoking. Plus, physiologically, of course, it's sustainable. Of course it is. Of course it is. Behavior is what jams us up, not our physiological need for carbs. JR writes, since I stopped eating excess carbohydrates, my overall health has vastly improved. I feel great, and my A1C is awesome, but my doctor tells me my cholesterol is over 200 and I need to take a statin. Of course, that's the rule. They have to. It's actually gotten into the standard of care. I was informed by Jackie Eberstein, no less, who has also become a friend, that, and she ran the clinic with, and sometimes for, Dr. Robert Atkins in Manhattan, that some doctors, if, say, someone's cholesterol comes in at 221 and the standard of care is that it should be 220 or lower, and it's 221, if they don't prescribe a statin, they may not be reimbursed for the visit. They may not be paid for the visit. So take it with a grain of salt, you should pardon the expression. Plus, statins are not particularly effective for women in general and for men who have not had a cardiac event. Just the way it is. Barbara Fenton, thanks for this, Casey. I almost talked myself out of doing keto this morning. 1 weekend. Vegan for 5 years, developed gut issues the last 3. This has to work. And Judy Tucker writes, it's sustainable. We have been 6 years keto. There you go. So, Barbara, thank you for sharing that. Why did you almost talk yourself out of it, I wonder? Not that I don't understand. I can't tell you how many times I said I'll lay off the carbs, and I made it 4 days. And then one time I made it longer. This was in the early 2000s. Made it longer, did lose some weight. I just stayed on the induction period of Atkins, which is really what the page 4 protocol is. It's essentially the induction of Atkins. And then I allowed myself, not knowingly, but it was the thing that we do. I was upset. It was the second of what was eventually going to be 3 cancer diagnoses. I was upset. And I was so irritated because I let life get to me. Life came at me. When does life not come at us? Really? Seriously? That's like standing at the shore and saying, oh, these waves keep coming at me. They always will. And I ate a bagel with low-fat cream cheese, of course. It was at the office. There was a pyramid of bagels in the conference room. And then I ate another. And then I put all the weight back on quickly. And I still had cancer. So I knew that it worked. It took me having the right mindset and the right motivation to stick with it. Okay, Barbara Fenton writes, just out of fear. Vegan was supposed to be so healthy. Am I getting into another extreme diet? That's all. Pure fear. Well, that's a very honest response, and thank you for sharing that. And really, this isn't extreme. You know, vegans, like to say it's an extreme diet. You're eliminating, no, that keto is, you're eliminating an entire part of the food map, an entire category of foods. And that's crazy, vegans referencing people who follow the ketogenic protocol. Of course, vegans, what do? They're eliminating an entire category of foods. But they feel like they have the philosophical upper hand. Vegans can be quite healthy. And if you like it, it's better. Like I said, yin and yang. We all have different, well, there are different blood types. We're all humans, but some are Rh positive and some are Rh negative. So we're clearly different on fundamental levels. Some of us have, the heart is on the right side, and some of us have one green eye and one brown eye. We're different. Some people have perfect pitch. Some people can actually hear colors. We're all different. Find what works for you. But this is not extreme. It's whole food. It's, what did we, well, like before, what did I serve my husband? A pork chop with green beans, a little bit of butter, and some sauteed onions. That does not sound extreme to me. By the way, this is not a high-fat diet. You don't eat a stick of butter. You don't put, it's not a high-fat diet. It's just not a low-fat diet. It's just a sufficient fat. So, Dakshungal. Colleen MK writes, page 4 is real food. It is. Dakshungal. Over 3 years keto, it works and feels great. To me, it has been the only way to eat that has worked to lose the weight and keep it off. And Heather Silva writes, if you wait for all life's trials and problems to be over before you start this way of eating, you'll never start. It's like, I'm going to wait till we have enough money before we have a kid. There's never enough money. Barbara Fenton, thanks, Casey. I will carry on joining your Patreon today. Well, thank you, Barbara. And thank you to the other patrons. It's very rewarding, and I'm gratified. I got a question this week. This was making me think of the life is really quite simple. We insist on making it complicated. So someone who I'm guessing was starting out, and one of the questions, it was a couple of bulleted points, was if I'm eating lean source of protein, like a boneless, skinless chicken breast, how can I get in enough fat? What kind of fat should I add back in? Well, for one thing, you don't get in fat. There's no protocol. 20 grams of carbohydrate or fewer. Don't eat if you're not hungry. Stop when you've had enough. There's nothing about grams of fat or grams of protein or ounces of water or time of day eating or percentages or the M word. So my reply was, well, you just eat just don't get a boneless, skinless chicken breast. Get a chicken breast with the skin. That's where the fat is. Better yet, chicken thigh, cheaper. And the meat itself is fattier. Let's not overcomplicate this. That when I said earlier, you don't even need a food list. Eat fatty sources of protein. What does that mean? Just eggs with the yolks, pork chop with the fat, steak with the fat, the nice inexpensive cut of chuck roast, which is, and with a steak, you want nice marbling. A filet mignon might be delicious and tender, but there's not much fat, so which is why sometimes restaurants wrap it in bacon. Eat bacon. Full fat cheese, limited amounts. Poultry with the skin. Oily fish. Sardines. I don't think Judy Porterfield's here today. Sardines. Wonderful source of not only protein and stuff, but also of calcium. Everything, any animal product that comes with a fat. Don't get the leanest cut, which are also generally the most expensive. Get the cheaper, fattier cuts. You don't need the very low fat ground beef. Get the 1585, the 2080. Yum. So there's that. And Colleen Sproul writes, if you haven't hit the quote like button response yet, no time like the present. Thank you, Colleen. Judy Tucker, I thought it was just another diet fail. Surprise it wasn't at work. Surprise, it wasn't a fail. It works. Doc Shungal writes, Patreon is awesome. Thank you. Reese, doctor put me on a whole food, plant-based diet in the past and my health issues never improved. I went on keto and my pain in my joints are gone. My bloated stomach has decreased significantly. In our weekly video Bible study, Scott says, hang in, Barbara. It is worth it. Good for you, Reese. Good for you doing what works for you. One of the first things that I noticed when I started this, I had everything in my body hurt. All my joints hurt. It was a chore to get up off the sofa. Just like, and I said, okay, well, you're a big fat person. No wonder your joints hurt. And you tried the summer of the triathlons. You want to see something? Go to my blog and look at the photos from that. Everything hurt. But why would my fingers hurt because I'm fat? Why would my neck, shoulders, why would they hurt? Within, I think, I can't remember. I didn't pay any attention because I didn't know this would work. I will say within a week or 10 days, joint pain resolved. I hear from a lot of people who, if they push the carbohydrate boundary, almost immediately their joint pain returns, like the next day. It's amazing. If plant-based works for some people, awesome. If move more, eat less works for some, awesome. If you're happy, healthy, comfortable in your own skin, fit, and I don't mean fit like bodybuilder, like good core strength, which is something I'm working on. I got in slack, in truth. So I'm working on that. If you feel good, if you're healthy, take charge of your own medical care. Doctors can either be making philosophical choices. You know, some people philosophically, don't believe in eating meat. It's not a health thing or a science thing. It's a philosophical thing. I don't want my doctor telling me what she thinks about philosophy. I want my labs, and I want a source. If I slice which I did, slice my thing with a Japanese saw off my tendon. Anyway, I want a source for medical care. But doctors don't know everything, clearly, and some refuse to learn new stuff. One thing that sold me on Dr. Westman, I think it was in that video, was he was traditionally trained internist. Move more, eat less, low fat. He had a couple of patients at the VA hospital there in Durham. And these two buddies, they had lost a bunch of weight, 25 pounds. And what are you doing? I'm eating steak and bacon. And second one comes in, I don't know whether it's the same day or a month later or whatever. What are you doing? I'm eating, hamburger and bacon. Oh, well, that's good, but I'm worried about your cholesterol. Well, you're a doctor. Check it. So he's a researcher at heart. He said in the video, I believe, this is Dr. Westman speaking, I was not so overtrained as a doctor that I couldn't see what was going on in front of my own eyes. That's a good doctor. So there we will wrap this up. I ran a little bit long today. Let me see if there are any other comments or questions. And thank you, Scott. Colleen MK, the chicken breast question is valid. A teaspoon of real mayonnaise sauce and sprinkle of Italian cheese is still page 4 keto. It's a few extra steps from rotisserie, but still fits. Or just don't buy boneless. Skinless. Buy with the skin. Even olive oil-based pesto still fits. Our weekly video Bible study, I can attest to the joint improvement of the low-carb lifestyle. There's that's where the headline should be. People coming, Judy Tucker came off of, I think, 7 medications. People coming off of medications. Joint pain resolved. What happens if your joints don't hurt so bad? You become more active. What does that do? That helps with a lot of stuff. That can help with body composition, cardiovascular, just you feel better. Well, thank you guys for sharing your stories. Please feel free, if you have topics that you'd like to hear about or see about on a Saturday video live stream, I would really appreciate it, because I don't know how many of these I've done. I know I've done 1,565 morning snippets for the patrons. I really need suggestions on what to talk about. But thank you for the hearts and the likes. And thank you for allowing me to be part of your day. Stay warm, y'all. Stay safe and stay sweet. Just don't eat sweets. Bye, ya.